I think that's why I love boxing, right? It's like this microcosm of that. That's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Every time you throw that too, it's like, how can I make that better? Was my head over my hips? Was that aligned? Was my chin down? Like everything. You're thinking about that. And then you go into the world and you do the same thing. Because I was thinking like, what's the appeal? Why do we want to get punched? What is that? And it was the same kind of thing. It's like, well, why do we like Halloween? Right? We like the confrontation with things that are kind of scary, kind of intimidating, because whether you want to or not, you're going to face it sometime. At some point, something scary is going to be right in front of you. And if you practice it, if you practice what you'll do in that moment, you're more likely to perform how you want to or how you would hope you perform.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Legends Boxing Podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Scott. I am very excited to have another guest in studio today. She is becoming one of my favorite people in the world, and she's definitely taking a huge role in Legends Boxing in itself. This is actually the gym manager of the Bountiful location, which is also my location. And she has just flipped it like a pancake. It's such an amazing culture that she's creating inside of there. And this is Emmy Ferlin. Lynn, right?
I like the thought of pancakes. That's a good way to start.
Flipping it like a pancake.
Just thinking about food, that's where I like that.
Well, yeah, I'm really hungry. And, you know, you're always hungry.
I know.
Your appetite.
That's insane.
Yes.
That's a good way to start for me. Yeah.
Well, welcome. Thank you for being here. I know it's not easy because of being a mom and running a gym and all these things to find some time to dedicate to be able to do this. So I really appreciate you doing this. Before we really get into your story and those kinds of things, I wanted to focus attention right here to our very new Legends hat. And I have to say, like, people who know me, I'm not like, I don't really love bent brim hats, but I really do like this one. Like, I'm a golfer, and this goes perfect out on the golf course. So even if you're not a Legends member, you can probably find this at legendsboxinggear.com. If you're a golfer, there you go. You got yourself a new golf hat. But it is actually really, really nice. I don't know if you've had a chance to wear them or not.
I haven't. I like the writing on the brim, like on the...
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah, that was... I thought that was really like one of the first things that kind of stood out to the hat because it's kind of a new thing Legends is doing. I like the it's like, it's not a trucker hat because like trucker hats are like the mesh all over the top, but it does have all of these nice perforated holes that keeps your head really nice and cool. So no, legendsboxinggear.com. You can find all sorts of Legends gear like our skull shirts and our new hats. But this is just one of the many, many amazing, awesome products that Legend comes out with exclusively by Legends. We make all of our stuff for us. It's like manufactured for Legends. So pretty cool. So that's kind of a gear spotlight that we're doing this month is for our gear spotlight. Got to make sure I stick to my outline. Got it right here for you guys. So let's get into Emmy. Let's talk about Emmy's story. So I wasn't actually even around when you started boxing. So I'm interested to hear this. Talk to me about like what piqued your interest in even wanting to come to a boxing gym?
Well, I was afraid of everything as a kid. Like I never wanted to go on the roller coasters. I have a very vivid memory of like not wanting to touch the stingrays and then feeling like really bad that I didn't
like ocean stingrays
at the aquarium.
Oh, at the aquarium. Okay.
And so I never, ever thought I would do anything like boxing. It's too scary. It's too intimidating. Like you don't know what you're doing when you walk in. Funny enough, after I gave birth, my whole perspective shifted on myself. I gave a completely unmedicated birth. It was like a 21-hour labor.
Whoa.
And after that, I was like, oh, no, I can do anything. And then my husband got hired at Legends as the account manager, which is so funny when I think about it. But he got hired there and he was like, just come try a class. Like, it's free because I work there or whatever. I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I'm not terrified of trying it now. So whatever. I literally, that first class, Jess coached it. I was immediately obsessed. we were doing mini sprints and I was by the garbage can, like green, like ready to puke. And she's like, you can slow, like, you know me. She's like, you can slow down. I was like, no, you know what? What is that?
What is slow down?
Oh, that is slow down. So it was just immediate love for it. And because I always think of things in terms of like, what's the potential here? Yeah, I think my mind was immediately like, I want to coach. I want to fight. I want to, however I can contribute to this.
So it was almost immediate after, like it was just in your head. Yeah, I do want to do this, get into a ring and really experience this. Wow, that's cool. That I didn't know. I thought that had taken some time to kind of build in your system.
So I started boxing in January. So that was 2 years ago in January. And then I applied for the October fight that year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I started sparring the summer of that year. And then I applied for the fight, didn't get it. And then I applied the next year and did get it. So.
Okay. That's it. That's cool. Like, where do you think, like, was it the program? Was it kind of the way the coach was instructing boxing? Was it the intensity? Was it the hitting the bag? Was it like that aggression let out that happens is kind of what fueled all of this desire?
Yeah, I think there's something about boxing that it's like, here's all the things you're not supposed to do. Now do them.
Oh.
Right? And for me as a rule follower, that felt like really liberating because I'm so much like, do the thing, do it right, you know? And when you just get to like punch stuff and break stuff, that was so just freeing for me, I think. And so, yeah, I was like, okay, but how can I take this further? What more can I do with this? So that's when your mind kind of goes to fighting.
Yeah, and it sure did. And we're going to get to that. I've got some stories for you guys about that fight, like for sure. So we've kind of just in that one, we've kind of answered 3 questions right out the gate because there wasn't really any time. You just said you immediately went from loving boxing to, okay, I want to do this. I want to fight. I want to spar. I want to do this. So there wasn't that transition time. And most people, there is. Like, I've got story after story after story where, people will come in and they'll go, Andrew, like, no, I don't want to get hit. I don't want to get into a ring. I don't want to do any of this stuff ever. But then when they've realized that we're not just teaching you how to hit a heavy bag or work out, we're actually teaching you the skills that are required to get into a boxing ring. Now, 6 months, a year later, they're like, okay, I want to put these to the test. And so you're unique in itself that like day one going from afraid of everything to now I can conquer the world and now I'm going to try boxing and now I want to freaking fight. Like, that's a story in itself. That's pretty amazing. Like, I think that people that are listening to this, that they can relate to that and go, yeah, it just kind of takes that one extra little step, that one little breaking out of that comfort zone and the barriers that we hold around ourselves to go, nah, I can do this. And then because I can do this, that means I can do this too. And that I can do this and I can do this. And that it just never kind of stops. And it turns into this like just habit formed repetition of just breaking that ceiling and breaking that barrier and breaking that barrier until you just feel invincible. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty amazing. So yeah, thanks for that, sharing that story. So what do you think was the biggest challenge for you during that whole process, right? Like, was it the training? Was it the sparring? Was it the mental aspect? Was it the balancing life? Like, what do you think?
At first, it was the financial burden of it. Okay. Because at the time, we weren't making very much money at all. So the thought of like paying for my sparring registration and paying for sparring gear and all that stuff was really like intimidating, which is also funny looking back on it. But once I was able to do that, then it felt like there's no limitation to this. Like I can do whatever I want to do with this. I remember the first time I got punched, it was like, heck yeah. I was like, let's go.
Really?
Yeah, it was fun.
See, now that's like really, like you should be really proud of yourself, Emmy, because these are things that, like, especially describing yourself prior to baby, right? Like, these are not normal things people choose to do, right? I mean, you've got to have a little bit of a screw loose to get into a boxing ring and go, yeah, come on, hit me again. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's see if you can hit me harder this time, right? Like having that excitement behind these types of things, like that's unique in itself. Like that is empowering. That's, I think, speaking a very powerful statement to people that could be listening to this and worried and wondering about anything, not just boxing. I mean, this type of attitude and mentality can be applied to anything you do in life for people who suffer with anxiety and depression and just have that, I can't even walk out my door today kind of thought process and mentality. I hope that you're listening to this and have that courage to know, yeah, I can. Yes, I can do that.
Yeah, because I really did go from somebody who was like that, or that's kind of how I perceived myself, was just kind of nervous and scared to try anything, to being in a fight, right? Like such a big, but like that is a barrier. That is the ocean that you can cross. That is possible.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember you saying, hey, I want to turn my name in for the October fights. And like, there was no hesitation from me, it was like, yeah, let's go, let's do it, but then the training that's involved in that. Okay. Talk to us a little bit about how you balance that, because I remember it was very shortly, like either right before or right after, your text to me going, how do I become the head coach? How do I become the gym manager? Right? Like, so now not only are you throwing a fight and training in the mix, now you're like, hey, I love Bountiful. I want to take this and I want to really turn Bountiful into what you're turning it into right now. And that's not an easy task. Like that's not an easy thing to just absorb and take on. So we talked a little bit, but tell me a little bit more about like kind of what kind of sparked that? I remember, if we go back a little bit further, I see you walking in one day about ready to coach a rock steady class. And I'm like, oh, you've always in my mind would have been an amazing Legends coach. And okay, you're going to coach rock steady. So that's when it opened up the can of worms for me to go, hey, Emmy, what do you think about coaching for me? And then, you're never the type to just jump in, and you got to think about it. You got to process things, right? Which is good. And so you took your time and then you came back and was like, yeah, I think we could do that. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about where you were there, and you'd been boxing, and then Sherry comes up, you start coaching rock steady. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Well, so Bridget, she was like, Sherry was looking for more rock steady coaches, and she came up to me. I was 6 months of boxing. Mm-hmm. I was brand new. And she was like, do you want to coach rock steady? I was like, yes, absolutely. I will definitely do that. So then it took a while to get through the training because it's very specific. You have to learn a lot about Parkinson's and stuff like that. But once I finished that, I started doing that. And I wonder how well I did that, because I am high intensity person. So I wonder if I pushed them a bit too hard. But then when I got the opportunity to try Legends coaching, I was like, yes, of course. More in my mind, that hesitation was like, okay, what do I need to move around? Because I have a 2-year-old. Right. I was working 30 hours a week doing nails. And then, you have to clean, you have to cook, you have to shop. Like, just life is busy, right? So then I was like, okay, what do I have to move around? And I think I might have dropped a client or two to make that work, but I did. It was fine. And then, I was like, oh my gosh, I can unleash on these people. I don't have to hold back at all. So I was right on it. As soon as I had that opportunity, it just felt very fun to me to just push people, help them reach their potential, basically. And then going from there to like a gym manager position. Yeah. You had texted a group of coaches saying like, does anybody have ideas of how we can make the gym better? And I was always just wanting to help. So I like go on Google. I'm like, how to make gyms bigger. And I start like reading all these articles. I'm writing down all these notes. I send you this note that's like essays long worth of stuff. I'm like, here's all my ideas of how to make it better. And then I send a text. But I think you need an extra employee, and I'd be happy to interview. And you were like, I've been waiting for you to say something like that. I don't remember how you said it, but
it was basically that. I remember it very vividly because, again, just like I had texted you earlier today, once one door closes, another door opens. And I was literally on the phone with my business partner, and we're talking about situations and things that are going on. And, you know, I was basically the acting head coach at the time at Bountiful, and, you know, the travel time and sometimes having to go 3-4 times a day, you're driving back and forth and all this stuff. It was, you know, it was slowing progression down for other things that we have envisioned for the company and those kinds of things. Right. And so as we're on the phone talking, you know, and he's going, Andrew, I'm going to challenge you with pulling yourself away from Bountiful. How do you do that? How do you pull yourself out of Bountiful more than you're there now so that we can get back on track?
How many classes were you coaching at that point? Like a lot. Yeah,
I was. So at that point, when Bridget decided to step down as the head coach, we also had a few other coaches that had decided to step down at the same roundabout time. So I was just at Bountiful coaching about 16 to 17 classes just that were on my schedule. And then if a coach called in or couldn't cover and I had to cover, so then now I'm covering for classes. So yeah, I was 22 hours a week spending just coaching classes in Bountiful, which, you know, I mean, again, I love coaching. So it wasn't like a humongous deal. The biggest deal was all the travel. It's all the being in the car and the time that you don't get to be able to, you know, get onto emails and text messaging and, you know, do the stuff that you've got to get done. And so that's kind of where this opportunity, like this God sent text message came as I'm on the phone with Scott. And like, I literally like took my phone and put it onto speaker. And right as I did that, I see a text from you come in, and it was basically just like, how do I become the head coach? And I went, shut up, Scott. You don't even want to read this. Like, what? Like, your ears must have been ringing or something. Like, something's going on. And like, I remember from the time you started boxing, the way you interact, the way you were with people, your athleticism, how quickly you pick it up. Like, you just get it. Like, you just get it. Like, I don't have to tell you much. You see it, you do it, you expect it. Like, your training to become a coach was like this. Like, you had to coach, like, I think it was 2 classes. And I'm like, all right, yeah, she's good. Like, done. And then literally after your first day, I remember you had started coaching 4 and 5 on Fridays, and you took those away from me. And literally I had like 5 people after those classes going, Emmy's a rock star, dude. Like, she's texting me, God, she is so awesome. And you have done nothing but improve since then. Like, you just, because of that work ethic that you have, that rule following work ethic, you want to be the best at everything. Like, you're not just a rule follower, you're highly competitive in a good way, in good competition, right? And so you want to be the best that you can. If you're going to put your time and you're going to put your effort into what you're doing, you want to do the best. And you can just tell, as I've gotten to know you, people know you, that's just your personality. And so that fits perfectly for boxers, for a gym manager, for a head coach.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit. There's no ceiling, right? So like that's where I kind of proud shoulders kind of saw that from the very beginning, kind of knew that. And when, again, I didn't want to push the envelope. I didn't want to push anything. I knew you had your own thing going on with nails. You have a daughter, you're married, you got life. Like, it's a big ask to become a gym manager, but we were able to compromise it. We were able to work it out. We were able to fit it around your schedule. And it's been very, very awesome. It's been an amazing thing. So publicly, I can't thank you enough for all of what you're doing for Bountiful, and everybody just loves you, Emmy. They do. Your whole tribe, they just love you.
I love them. I love them so much. Like, this is the best job ever. I'll just say that. This is the best job ever.
Coaching, love especially. To hear that. Yeah, coaching, I would absolutely agree. Like, I've been doing it for a lot of years, but I still to this day come in and am excited about being able to be that impact in somebody's life, right? Like, not just, hey, I'm your coach, but there are people that come and talk to you, that look up to you, that want your advice, that want to share with you their wins and share with you their things that they're doing, right? And they hold you as their coach up here. And that's a pretty awesome feeling, especially to have that to 250 to 300 people that are coming to you to specifically be taught boxing. So yeah, absolutely. Kudos. You get it. You've drank the Kool-Aid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, with a little spit of vodka in it. Kool-Aid with a little bit of vodka. Just kidding. She doesn't drink, guys. She's like one of the healthiest people I've ever met, too. Like, diet-wise, she's, well, anyways, that's for another podcast. So we asked that. Biggest preparation, and yeah, that's not easy. Right? Finances, money, it can get expensive. Fortunately, boxing, you're really not like, you buy the headgear, you have maybe
once
gloves
it's done.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, then you're good for a while.
Yeah. At least a year.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're renewing again with your USA boxing. Unlike golf, which I know is never a thought process in your head, but it is in mine. Golf is one of the most expensive sports like on the planet. It's pretty expensive, but
is that a humble brag?
Kind of, not really, because I'm broke and I can't really afford it. I'm cheap when it comes to playing golf. Like I bet somebody, I'll bet you the round that you're going to miss that putt. And so, yeah, no, I'm just trying to be creative with how I get to go play golf. I'm a small business owner, Emmy. I don't make money. Small business owner. So that was my, biggest thing. Like, where did you find, other than just going, okay, well, I'm going to take nails 30 hours a week to now running a gym 30 plus hours a week. How did that affect the balance in family life or any of that? Or was it a bigger coordination process?
I'm not really good at quitting things. So when I started working at Legends, I did not quit nails.
Oh.
So I did Rocksteady, I did nails, and I did gym managing. And I worked twice a week, 15-hour days. I would get up, I would start my day at 6 a.m. coaching, and I would finish at 9 p.m. at the nail salon. Yeah, it was insane.
You're not doing that anymore?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I did that for 2 months, probably. 2 months. And then I was like, I came to you and I said, I think the gym needs more time and I think I'm done with nails. So I'm going to quit.
I remember that.
Yeah. And that was in July. Okay. And I think I started in May. So yeah, 2 months.
June?
Okay. Yeah. So maybe a month.
Because I remember sitting at Cubby's and it was 105 degrees.
It was. I remember being so sweaty.
Yeah. We're outside. We're it's such a nice day. You want to go sit outside while we're interviewing for the job? And I'm just this was a bad idea. Just pouring sweat. It's so hot out here.
I thought of that too, yeah.
But yeah, it makes for great stories, you know. And look at us now. So that had to have been really challenging for 2 months to 15-hour days, juggling all of that kinds of stuff. Yes. Do you think that because of all of those hours you were putting in, that's kind of what drove you more to going, well, I love the boxing more than I do the nails?
Yeah, and I think because I was able to have because I did nails for 3 years and I felt like I got pretty good at it, but the problem with it is the culture for me of the expectations of what you're supposed to look like and how you're supposed to act. And when you have someone sitting in front of you, you have to keep them entertained for sometimes 3 hours. If I'm doing a full set of art, if I'm doing a Disney character on every nail, they're going to be sitting there for 3 hours, And then when I started coaching, I was everything else is a waste of time, right? It's when you have your baby, you're everything else is a waste of time. And so that was the feeling that I had. I was why am I not doing more of this? But I'm doing this. And if I had to choose, it was obvious. So that's when the time came where I was impossible. You can't keep doing this. Then it was obvious.
Yeah, it's not sustainable. I mean, a lot of people work really long hours, but it's how long can you sustain that for, right?
Well, and I think I could work really long hours. I just think it's hard with a 2-year-old as well.
Yeah, it's a juggling.
Yeah.
Right? life itself is just finding balance. And if you don't have 3 points of major priority and balance, then you're adding a 5th point and a 6th point. And now you don't have a triangle anymore. You have this, who even knows what kind of shape it is. And so it's just chaos. Yeah. And so having that stable balance and finding those 3 areas of importance in your life, and family absolutely has to be one of them. So that's impressive. I mean, I find that impressive that you were able to get that juggling act, and that you're able to see and understand and go so quickly to be like, yep, okay, this is where I'm going to go. This is the direction.
It was hard. That was a hard decision to make, but I'm really glad that I did. Good. Now that I have some distance from it, and like I am where I am now, I know I made the right choice.
Well, it's great because like Legends still provide you the opportunity of using your amazing artwork. Like every week.
Amazing might be an overstatement.
No, it's not, everybody. No, it's not.
I do try to sneak it in everywhere possible.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can I draw a chicken on our recipe of the week? So I go draw the chicken.
I love it. And speaking of, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's where weekly she gets to do it. Like if you guys have ever walked into a Legend, and I know a lot of our listeners aren't even Legends members or boxers at all. But if you've ever walked into a Legends, then you know you've got a chalkboard that's sitting in front of you that's kind of like an announcement board. And then you have some other boards on the walls that allow for like chalk to be written on and stuff like that. And Emmy does all of our artwork on all of those chalkboards, and they're all really amazing. Now, what I wish I would have brought were my mitts.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yes, as a gift for cornering her for her fight, she took my mitts, which are Legends branded mitts, and every Legends branded mitt looks exactly the same. So what she did, she customized them specifically for me, and I don't even do it justice by talking about it. I wish I would have brought them to show the cameras, but it's literally a golf course that's on the front part of the mitt. On both mitts, it's just golf, and there's golf carts, and there's an alligator in there, and like it's so amazing, so creative.
Really fun.
So for those who are listening and you are a Legends member, Emmy and I are starting a business together where she's going to customize your mitts for you. So go ahead and just reach out to us on Instagram, or you can email us at bountiful@legendsboxing.com. If you want your mitts customized, send her 3 things you love and she'll customize them for a price. It's not for free, for a price. Yeah, no portraits. Okay. Yeah, what else? Nothing else. Anything else, but just no portraits.
I think that's it. I think I can do anything else.
Okay, no portraits. But anything else, and then we'll put our Venmo code up and we'll let you know how much it's going to be. Deal?
Great.
See, there you go. There we go.
Cheers.
Back to the outline. Adrienne, the outline is here. Let's see. We already talked about that. We kind of already talked about that. Having a family. How you found the balance in training, prepping, and coaching. I think a lot of it, if I can just real quick answer kind of that, I think one, what I notice just being around you all the time is that you and Jake have a really good synergy with each other and communicate really well and support each other very well. And so I don't think that, and unfortunately, like what you guys don't have, which I think a lot of relationships has, is that resentment of not being around each other every second, or, you know, you're off getting your career stable and he's, you know, not like whatever, right? And you guys just don't have that. You have that support system with each other. Am I right, or am I off?
But you're definitely right. Yes. Without him, I would never have been able to do my fight if he wasn't supportive. Yeah.
Well, now that we're on to your fight, because yes, she did fight last October. It's a co-main event. It was one of the best fights of the entire night. I've got some great stories, and coaches that have cornered people before, you'll probably eyes will wide open going, what? Serious? She was able to do that kind of stuff? Such an amazing fight. But one of the reasons that I would say and answer that is because of how you and Jake were after the fight. I just from a distance, I was observing, and as you guys are walking outside in the parking lot, and I mean, you're just talking to each other, and you could see that he was just there to support you, right? And like, I was absolutely just like, hats off to Jake. Like, awesome.
He's the best husband ever. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of an awesome husband too, but you know, I'm just kidding. No, I really do see that. I really do think that that's the major key. And so that's a great value to have. So that's awesome. And now let's talk. When did you guys meet?
We have known each other since we were 12.
I've known this. That's why I
junior high when we were very young. And I remember the first time we met was we were in musical theater class, which, yes, I did musical theater.
Shocker.
I know. We were standing in two lines and the teacher was like, okay, now turn and face the person in front of you and gaze in each other's eyes for a silent 25 seconds, something stupid long. And we just we're staring at each other.
It's not awkward.
And then he goes, I know. And she goes, okay, now say something that you like about the person in front of you. And he said, I like your eyes. And I said, I like your dimples. And then ever since then, we were friends for a long time. And then we started dating right before my senior year. And then we got married when I was 20. So it's been a long journey, but we just had our 5th anniversary.
Oh, congratulations. Yeah. That is awesome. That's a cute story.
Yeah.
Junior high and now they're married. And that's why I wanted you to share it. Cause that I think is also what helps you guys just stay really able to communicate really well, able to just support each other because you have literally known each other since you were kids.
Yeah.
And you're still really young, but you guys were children.
Yeah.
And now, just through the years. And so you've not only been able to be there for each other, you've been able to see each other grow up.
Yeah. You think about all the awkward things about yourself, when you were 12 and then you go out and date and you're like, thank goodness those people don't know that about me, but he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I do. So that's funny. We'll be like, remember that teacher in 7th grade? Oh, yeah, I do. I do.
And now imagine what happens in 20 more years.
Yeah. And now you just have more and more of it.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's great. So with that, going back to the fight, and we were talking about that support afterwards. Tell me from your perspective, talk to the listener, somebody who's thinking about it, who's thinking about possibly fighting, who's thinking about getting into a ring from it being so fresh. I mean, this was only a few months ago that we did this. Tell them from your eyes and your perspective, what was that whole process like? The training process, the having to show up a little bit extra more, the getting in the ring and going a little harder with the sparring. Walk us through what it was like the day of, the night before, the hour leading up, all that.
Yeah, it was intense. The training was, for me, it was a mind game. The physical training didn't feel that hard. It was you change the way you think about everything, right? Everything that you think about is somehow centered around what's coming up. You're always thinking about the fight in terms of everything. And that was really challenging, but also kind of exhilarating. There's an element of there's this cool thing coming up and it's going to be really hard, but it's going to be really cool. I can't believe I'm doing this, right? So that was kind of exciting. When it came to sparring, yeah, we had I just remember it being exhausting. I remember it having a lot of feelings of, I can't get this right. I have tried this a million times. I can't get this right, and then just you got to shake it off. How are you going to get it right with that mindset, right? So then the next round, I'm like, okay, well, guess this round's to learn. I'm going to get in this round. I'm going to try to learn something. It's not necessarily about winning this round when I'm sparring. I'm going to try to learn something. And Keyshawn taught me many things. He is fast. Holy smokes. But
miss that kid.
Me too. Yeah, but he pushed me really hard and I learned a lot from him and the way that he moved. It taught me to move. And that was really important. And now as I coach people, I'm like, why aren't you moving? Move! Move! You can't box if you don't move. But they don't understand that if you've only ever had a heavy bag,
Right.
Anyway, so yeah, the training was just really, it felt intense, but it felt fun. It felt emotionally overwhelming for sure. Just the whole emotional aspect of it, I think is underrated maybe it's because it's coming from a woman, but it felt very emotional, nerve-wracking, anxiety, all those kind of things. As the fight got closer and closer, I got more and more confident, which was good. Like the closer I got to it, the better I felt about it. Leading up to the day of, when I was like on top of the world. I don't know what it was. Like the whole week before, I was like, oh, I'm so scared. Like, and then the day of, I was like, I got this. This is easy. Like, and then we're the 11th bout, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought like for sure we'd get like a seat up front, but we're like peeking through these curtains, like watching, trying to see like even a little bit of the fights before us. And I'm just kind of watching, standing. And I remember having this overwhelming thought of like, if you want to learn something from this, then focus on what you're grateful for. Mm. And so I spent that whole day just like, how cool is this that I get to do this? This is such a privilege. How privileged do you have to be able to take your spare time to volunteer to get hit for no money? Like, you have to be in a special place in the world for that.
I love this mentality. This is awesome.
So that's what I was thinking. Like while you were wrapping my hands, that's what's going through my mind. It's like, this is so cool. I'm about to get in a ring and unload. Like, that's so cool. So that was all that went through my mind. And I felt like that's why I was able to keep a level head in the ring, because I wasn't thinking about the anxiety of getting hit. I wasn't thinking about the anxiety of hitting her. I was just thinking about, it's so cool. Like, what can I learn from this? What can I take away from this experience? So yeah, I felt like I'm happy with how I performed, even though I did not win.
That's good. And I remember that after the weekend, right? And so that's where my next question was leading, is because afterwards, mm-hmm. you didn't take it exactly that great.
No.
Right?
No, I did not take that well.
But over the weekend, that's where I was curious, like, what kind of happened and where did that mentality switch? Because I remember like almost immediately Monday, it's like, I can almost imagine that your brain is like, okay, it's Monday now. It's the work week. I can text him now. And so you text me.
That's exactly what I thought. That's so funny. That's exactly how I thought.
Right. And so you text me and go, after I watched, and actually it wasn't even a text. You said to me in person, like the next night of sparring, how do I do that again? Mm-hmm. Right. Like, I want to do that again. Right. And to me, that was like, that hit home pretty hard. Like, okay, something had to go on through the weekend with communication, with mental, with emotion, with all this stuff. And I remember you said, I watched my fight, and yeah, I was pretty proud of how I performed. Mm-hmm. Like, I did a lot better than I originally thought in my brain. But then now I watched it, I'm seeing a different product of what I provided, right?
Yes.
And so I think that might have had something to do with it. But talk to me about that. Talk to me what transpired over the weekend? Because I know you and Jake took off that weekend, right? You were like going to Bear Lake or something like that?
We went to St. George.
To St. George.
We had tickets to a show at Tuacahn. So originally I was like, oh, I can't do the fight. Like, we're going to be gone that weekend. Like, I'd already had it planned. And I was like, nah, like, I'll make it happen, right? So yeah, we literally left for St. George at like 6 a.m. the next morning. So I got home at like 1 a.m. And then we left early and drove down. And the whole time I was just, whole time. We went to Hunchback of Notre Dame. So if you want to watch a crier, go see that. So we watched the show and I was like, this is the worst show ever. I'm so sad. Like, I was so mopey whole weekend. Jake even was like, can you do another fight? Like, I don't know if we can handle another loss. So like, but I made it through. And I think it was once I watched it. It really was. It was once I watched it that I was like, oh, like, I didn't suck.
I know.
Right? Because my brain was like, loss equals you performed poorly. But no, after I watched it, I was like, oh, okay. Didn't get pummeled. It was a close fight. I could do that again. So how do I do this again? So yeah.
I still think
it was a process to get through that.
I still personally, and I'm probably biased as your coach, but I still think that from the middle of round 2 on, you won.
Right, which is half the fight. So
right.
it really felt. I remember, and it might have been, my brain making stuff up, but I looked down and watched the judges ask each other and ask her across the ring, like, what are you scoring? Like, what? Like, with a bit of confusion.
They're all going,
like,
I don't know how to score this fight. It was so close.
It was a very good fight.
Very good fight. And like the things that stand out to me, having done this and cornered hundreds of fighters and been around hundreds of fights from amateur to professional level, what stood out to me the most was, if we go back to even the way you entered the ring and walked in the ring.
Oh, gosh.
With Brass Monkey playing. Yes, there is. With your gorilla arms and let's go. Like, you did not need a hype person at all. You were your own hype person going into that ring. You could see how excited you were. Getting in the ring, you're still excited, ready to go. Let's ring this bell as quick as we can. I have never, so I've had a lot of competitive boxing matches, and it wasn't until like 15 that I was able to hear my corner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like them yelling at me what I should be doing. Nah, all the adrenaline just kept me from hearing anything. Like, you just go into this zone and you don't know there's an audience. You don't know there's a crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing. And you were hearing me. Mm-hmm. Get your hands up, Emmy. No. Get away from that 6. Like, you're hearing me and you're like acknowledging me in round 1. And I'm going, what the heck? Are you a robot? And then after round 1, normally this is what you see, everybody. And coaches, if you're watching this on YouTube and you've cornered a fighter, you can absolutely relate to this, especially on their first fight. When someone comes after their first round, get this mouth guard out of my mouth. They can't breathe. There's no breathing. There's no contemplating. There's no nothing. Usually, my conversations with my fighters after the first round is, okay, round 1's over. Give me a breath. Give me a big breath. Okay, you're take a drink. Okay, all right. That's it. You did great. I need you to go out there now and go do it again in round 2. That was nothing like our conversation. It was, Emmy, I know she's just got the 6. That's all she's got. That's all she tried to hit me with is this 1 6. Okay, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You're going to take it away from her? Yeah, I'm going to step away from it, get around the side. I got to start changing my angles. I'm like, okay, I don't even need to coach you. You know what you need to do.
I don't remember that.
Go do it. Yeah, you don't, because your adrenaline's still rushing, but that's literally what happened after round 1. And then round 2 goes and and you're already even more comfortable. Mm-hmm. So then round 3. And I'm looking at you and I'm like, okay, how are you feeling? I feel great. I'm good. I'm still good. I'm good. Like, I think I need to do more. Yes, you do need to do more, Emmy. I need you to go out there and do more. Okay. Mm-hmm. I need you to go out there. And the first thing that I want you to do is I need you to throw a 1-2-1 combination. And I want you charging at her. 1-2-1-2. Just charge at, and you be the person who's applying all the pressure. Okay. All right. Okay. Ding. There you go. And you can see on the video, you're right out there. What you try to get that? Like, I was mind blown. Mm-hmm. I've cornered a lot of people in my tenure, and I've never had that experience.
That was what was so funny, is because everyone was like, okay, you're going to go in there. You're not going to have any idea what's going on. Your body's going to take over. You're not going to know there's a crowd. You're not going to hear your coach. And I didn't have that experience at all.
None of it.
I went out there. I remember hearing the crowd. I remember some guy going like, let's go Blue. And I was like, I'm Blue. That's so cool. I remember like hearing the Bountiful chanting my name, and then I remember hearing you. I was so present. I was so in control of myself and what was happening, which everyone told me wouldn't happen.
No.
But it's possible, apparently.
Apparently it is. There is the 1%ers in the world, and here we go. So no, like it really, like, just in my personal experience, a first fight has never been that, like that, a first fight. Now, yeah, I've cornered fighters who they've had 10, 12, they've gotten more experience. And so, yes, it's more like what you and I experienced, like that, especially like there was a long time ago, I had a pro MMA fighter that I would corner, and he came to me for his striking. and he wanted me to be a part of his corners. And so I would go corner him in these professional MMA bouts. And, you know, even at that point, yes, he's at a pro level. He's had multiple fights. And so, you know, you're communicating back and forth in between rounds. But because it's MMA, depending on how the round went, say it was more grappling and grounding, right? Your wrestling coach is the guy in your face talking to you about round 2, not your striking coach, right? If it stood up all the rounds and you guys are striking, okay, here's all the great striking that you were doing. Now let's come out with this kind of game plan, right? And so you do have to have a little bit more communication in mixed martial arts. But, you know, let's face it, if we did a poll, I've coached and trained and put more one-time fighters in the ring than I have people who have had multiple fighters.
Sure. And
never have they ever done that. Like, I've had people talk to me, like, I remember one year at EFN, it was one of our first years. We had done the executive fight nights in the Salt Palace in downtown. And one of our fighters, I think it was the main event, and I couldn't tell you what I said to him. I don't even remember what I said to him. But like, I grabbed the back of his head, and like it was the last round. Like, he had to go out there and just knock this dude out. And he was so exhausted. He could barely lift his hands. He was just dying. And I grabbed his head and I put my forehead up against his headgear. And I just said something that fired him up so much that afterwards I had like 5 to 6 people come up and ask me, like, dude, what did you say to this guy? Like, he just came out like a ton of bricks. And I'm like,
like, I don't remember.
I don't know. Like, I have no idea. It's like, those are the kind of heat of the moments, right? Like,
yeah,
that's why, again, like when I challenged you after your fight, what did I challenge you with? I want you to corner someone else. I want you to take somebody from no fight experience, getting them ready for a fight, and then putting them through the corner. And I want you to experience the same kind of emotions that go on for the coach.
I can't even imagine.
The coach is just as invested.
Yeah.
They're just as invested in your success.
They have no control.
Yeah. And there's nothing I can do. So people ask me constantly all the time, like, are you nervous when you go corner people's fights? Yes, I am.
Yeah.
I am excited. I'm really happy for my fighters, but I am sure nervous because I want them to do their best. And I can't be in the ring holding their hands, and I'm not the one that's holding mitts for them at that point. You got to go figure it out when you get into the ring. There is a aspect of boxing that you're just going to have to figure it out on your own. And that's the scary part for the coach, right? And it's kind of like that same kind of relationship we have with our children, right? Like, we develop that same kind of relationship. Our kids, we want them to be successful. We want to do everything for them, but no, that's not going to be a benefit to their life. We have to let them fail. We have to let them know what that feels like so they can succeed. And it's the same thing when it comes to coaching boxing, and that one-on-one relationship you develop as a coach and a fighter, there's really nothing else in the world that can be compared to. It's just, it is a different emotional connection where I promise you that because of the lives that you've touched just by coaching boxing in class, that 20 years from now, someone is going to be talking about you to their kids or their grandkids. That's and great. Giving a story of how you impacted them and what it is you did to change their life. And that's a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
Because you could also break them with the words that you use and how you come across and how you present yourself in class. And it's that easy to tip it one way or another.
I worry about that. I do worry about that.
But that shows you care.
Yeah.
Right? That's the kind of coaches that I want. Those are the kind of coaches I want on my team, is the ones who care enough to know, yeah, I can make or break somebody. That they're not just coming into this going, oh, all I'm doing is just coaching a boxing class. No, you're not. You're doing far more than just coaching a boxing class. You're impacting people's lives, and you're giving them an opportunity to see what they're capable of doing. And if you can do this, there's not much else in the world that you can't do.
Yeah.
And that's the responsibility we have.
It really is. It really is like that parent-child relationship, because they come into this situation completely vulnerable with no skills. They don't know anything, right? You are the one that's supposed to teach them from zero. You're supposed to instill confidence in them, but not give them a big head, right? Like, it's just all this balancing act. And then there is a point where you sacrifice them to the world. You send them into the ring alone. You're like, okay, like I'm going to be here to cheer you on, but you're doing this. It's the same with our kids. Like one day Elaine is going to be 18 and it's going to be like, hey, you're in the world now. I'll be here for you, but there you go.
Yeah.
That little microcosm. I never thought of it that way, but it really is.
Yeah, it really is. And, you know, and now that, you know, like it's funny because like you're seeing that with your little one and I have grown ones and now I get to see it from the parental perspective of you have been set out to the world. Now you are in the world. And, you know, like as parents, we still can only be there for our kids as much as possible. And they still have to make their choices and learn from their choices. And it's the same thing in a boxing ring, right? It's the exact same thing. Like boxing brings the reality real fast. Like
it's so cool though. It's like, you know, I think of my fight and I really do have those movie-esque pictures of like when you watch a movie and you see the sweat it's like so slow and the music cuts and you just hear like the reverberation of the punch, you know, like I have those memories of that. And how you're never going to get that again. How else are you going to get that experience like that? I wouldn't trade that, you know, even though it was hard to lose. I wouldn't trade the experience for sure.
Well, again, I say in every single first amateur boxing match that you have two winners that walk out of the ring just for the simple fact that you're getting in the ring and doing what like less than 0.1% of the world even contemplates doing, let alone trying to actually go do it. Like the stuff that we do, that you've done, that I've done, that people have gotten in the ring and actually box, most people don't even think about it. It's like you and golf. It just doesn't even come into your head.
Yeah.
Golf doesn't exist.
Yeah.
To most people, getting into a boxing ring and fighting, that just doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
Right?
That's funny.
But that's also what makes Legends so amazing is that you don't have to. Right? You don't have to. That was
in proximity.
A road you took, right?
Yeah.
An individual road you decided to take because of the opportunity Legends provided for you. Doesn't mean you've got to keep doing it or did it, or doesn't mean that just because you're in a Legends gym doesn't mean you have to fight.
Right.
So what's next?
I don't know. There's so many things that can mean, right? There's so many aspects to a person. Like we kind of think of ourselves as in terms of work or in terms of our family position, but really we're in terms of our entire earthly experience. And there's so much more to learn and grow and become. And I can grow my family. I can, you know, grow my career. There's just lots of different opportunities. I think I'll just take them as they come.
Well, what's one? What little goal you have set for yourself then? Okay.
Definitely want to have more kids. I want to better myself mentally and emotionally. I think that's something I'm not very good at.
Well, expound on that because to the untrained eye, they would not agree with you with that.
Yeah, that's because it's so funny. I just read this book and I read the book and I was like, oh, this is why I'm so competent. But it's all surrounding my upbringing, right? Like my childhood and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that actually says in the book is if you're like this, then you may be really good under pressure because you had to be as a child. And so that would make sense why I could perform in that situation, even though a lot of people can't, because I had to. It really was like my upbringing was sink or swim. Like if you don't do it yourself, it doesn't get done. So that translates into my work, as you can tell.
Which is highly efficient.
You know, of like, if I don't do it myself, it won't get done. So I'll just do it. So I'm trying to like find that balance.
So is delegating a hard thing for you?
It's not easy for me.
Okay.
And if I do delegate, I'm shocked when people don't do what they were told to do. I'm like, but someone told you to do the thing. Why didn't you do it? Okay. Isn't that how everyone thinks? Is that, or I also can't understand when people say they'll do something and they don't do it. Then I'm like, well, then why did you say it? But that's just because of how, like, now I'm learning. That was just because of how I grew up.
Well, but that's, I mean, if you think about it, most people aren't as self-aware either. I mean, like, they're not. They're kind of complacent in their ways. They think their way is the right way. What do I need to change? But you're not. You're always constantly looking to push the needle and go, okay, how can I be better? How can I improve? How can I make this better? And so that's why, like, that, the way you describe that, like, I get it now. Now I see what you're talking about with mental and emotional, right? Is you're seeing that you could kind of change this or open this or be more open-minded to this or see it from a different perspective or avenue, that not everybody is programmed like this, right? So I have to be somewhat more flexible, or I have to be a little more patient with certain people and blah, 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 blah. And that comes with management. That comes with, having people, that you have responsibilities to and stuff like that. So no, that makes total sense to me, because when you first say that, I'm like, what? You're pretty squared. You're pretty wounded here really well. So,
but I'm learning that I'm not very good at, like, validating my own experiences and being like, yes, this thing happened to me and it made me feel like very bad. I'm not very good at, like, accepting my whole life experience as something that has emotional ties. It's more just like, yeah, that was a movie I watched. Like, has nothing, right? So that's why, like, in that moment, I can just completely detach and be like, there's nothing associated. It's just a thing that needs to get done. So I get in the ring and I'm like, there's a thing, do it.
So then do the emotions come later? Like when you've tried to put
when
it
it's
dormant?
like, okay, now if you don't let it out, then you will die. Like, that's right. Like, that's the kind of the balance, not the balance, but eventually, yeah. Like, you can't stop it forever.
So maybe this is a moment for you to realize that you can let those emotions.
That's what I'm trying desperately to learn. It's very hard for me to do.
It's not easy. And then, like I honestly can't really relate, because I am actually a pretty emotional individual. Not emotional like I'm, sad and I cry or whatever, but like I'm passionately attached to legends, to my members, to the people that I've developed that connection with. I have no problem being vulnerable and speaking my mind or being empathetic to people and that kinds of stuff, right? Which I know a lot of people that are not. Like, they close those things in, they keep them aside and that kinds of stuff. And just I believe that there's a time and a place, right? And that holding these types of things and letting them fester.
Well, and it was a subconscious behavior, right? It's not something I was thinking like, oh, I can't face that. Like, I have to, because I'm the type that's like, I want to face everything, like, bring it on, So it was very subconscious that I was doing this.
But it's not anymore. And that's kind of the separation.
Starting to be more conscious, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really kind of a unique trait, is what I'm talking about with this self-awareness, right? Like, most people that take a personality test, they're lying about the answers.
I could never.
Right.
Yeah,
you
like
could
that.
Never.
That is insane.
Most people will like not admit that. Like, no, I don't do that. No, I don't do that. Even though they do. Like, that's totally them, right? And like it, and I don't know. I might be exaggerating by saying most.
Yeah.
But I personally, taking a personality test, oftentimes don't want to admit. So it's like, remember when you said, Andrew, you take this personality test, and like, this is totally you. And I'm like, when you made that spreadsheet about all the coaching, I'm like, well, why am I in red? You're like, oh, because you totally project red. And I'm like, what does that mean? And so then I started kind of going through, like, seeing what you were talking about. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe she's right.
Yeah.
Maybe she's right. Right. But I still
intensity person.
Didn't want to admit it. Right. Like, to myself, I didn't, like, to me, that was more like a negative thing, not a positive thing. So I'm like trying not to admit that.
Mine is more like, if I have a personality test question and it's like, have you ever kicked any puppies? I'm like, have I? I don't know.
Oh.
Like, I would.
Mine's immediately
concerned. Had I really done something like that?
Oh.
Right. And so then I would comb back through my history. Like, okay, have I ever done that? Or like, if it said like, are you full of yourself? I would be like, am I? Like, and then I feel like I have to go ask someone.
Oh. See, now that kind of makes a little bit more sense, but you're still but you still like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's not most people. Maybe it's just me.
It's just you, yeah.
But I'm just like,
out there's like, what's this guy talking to him?
That's not me. No, I don't do that. No, that's not me. I don't think that way. Like, that's why personality test is wrong.
Like, if somebody came to me and they were complaining about someone, they're like, this guy, he just sleeps in too late or whatever. It bugs me. I'd be like, do I sleep in too late? Is that me? Do I do that? Like, if Andrew's saying he doesn't like this, like, do I do that? And does he not like that's what goes through my head.
Oh, guilt monger.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Guilt is a strong emotion of mine. Yeah.
Okay. Well, but see, again, you're working, you're educating, you're seeing it, you're understanding that.
What more can you do?
Well, unfortunately, too many people don't do that, and they kind of just stay complacent in their own little worlds, and they do.
It's easier.
Yeah, it is. It's easier. Again, I think that you're taking the more courageous route by really trying to expand and expound your mind, expand your personality, become better version of yourself, right? And that I think that can just go and apply to so many people that kind of need that in their lives.
Well, I think that's why I love boxing, right? It's like this microcosm of that. That's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you throw that too, it's like, how can I make that better? Was my head over my hips? Was that aligned? Was my chin down? Like everything. You're thinking about that. And then you go into the world and you do the same thing. Because I was thinking, like, what's the appeal? Why do we want to get punched? What is that? And it's the same kind of thing. It's like, well, why do we like Halloween? Right? We like the confrontation with things that are kind of scary, kind of intimidating, because whether you want to or not, you're going to face it sometime. Mm-hmm. At some point, something scary is going to be right in front of you. And if you practice it, if you practice what you'll do in that moment, you're more likely to perform how you want to or how you would hope you perform. And that's what boxing is. It's not shying away from what's scary, right? It's facing it head on, bettering every second. How can I make this better? How can I make this better? And that's why I love it so much.
Couldn't have really said that any better. Like that's very insightful. That really is. Like, if you're looking at, like, don't even take boxing, just put it and apply that comment you just said to anything that you do in life, anything you enjoy, anything at all, any kind of doubt that's keeping you from getting out of your bed today. Just apply that. Okay. Just reward yourself, self-reward yourself for getting out of bed. If you're one of those people who struggle with massive anxiety or depression or whatever the case may be, and you're just struggling to get out of your room today, pat yourself on the back if you do.
Yes.
Walk out of the room, go make a cup of coffee and go, I did it.
And if you don't reward yourself for something that you don't want to do, then you're not going to trust yourself. You're never going to do anything. Mm-hmm. There has to be those rewards. That's very important.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. So with that, I think that baby steps, if you guys are listening at all, one catalyst, there's a million different things that you could do to help, to better yourself, to help gear your mind. But Emmy uses boxing along with a lot of us at Legends Boxing. We use boxing as our catalyst to help us improve our lives, one little punch at a time, one little step at a time, one heavy bag at a time, one bloody nose at a time, whatever the case may be. It's just that progress, right? And boxing, for somebody who's been doing it as long as I have, I'm still very far from perfect at it, and it's never going to happen. So that also is what helps keep driving me, is that I know I'm never going to be the best at this, and I know I'm never going to be able to throw that 6 from my southpaw stance and feel comfortable, but I'm still going to do it, and I'm still going to practice it. And no matter how long it takes, if it never comes, and to feel natural and normal. And by the way, yes, I'm not lying. I hate throwing my 6 from a southpaw stance, but I will still practice it. It just doesn't feel natural to me, and it never really will. But I'm still going to keep going, and I'm not going to let that stop me or discourage me, because maybe one day it will. Mm-hmm. You know, it might. One day I might throw this 6 from that side and go, oh, there it was. That was what I wanted to feel. Because if I switch to orthodox and I throw a 6, I love it. But it's just for some reason, as my natural, normal southpaw stance, I don't. And And it's just something that I'm not going to stop just because it doesn't feel right now. Because 15 more years from now, it might turn into one of my favorite punches.
Or you have a different opportunity and you have learned from that experience, right? No, I need to try this because I don't like it the first time. Maybe
Yeah.
Like it teaches you throughout life. It's not just boxing. That's why sports are so important for kids to play.
I agree.
Because when they grow up, it's like, well, how do you work as a team? Well, how do you think about the people around you? Well, how do you work really, really hard at something and get better at it? Like those are all the things. Well, I hate throwing the 6. Well, I also hate doing my taxes, but I'm going to do my freaking taxes, Like that's just kind of how, it's just that little microcosm.
Well, right, it is. And it also goes into the lines of, if I don't quit, then yeah, there's a possibility that it's going to become successful. But if I do quit, that possibility is gone.
Right.
Now it's never going to happen. And that's a guarantee. So just the simple fact of consistent perseverance, one day, yeah, it might happen. And at least you can always look in the mirror and tell yourself, I'm not a quitter. Yeah. That's not something I do. I keep going. I keep persevering. Right. And that speaks miles for itself and can really, I think, resonate with a lot of people. And so make sure that we got through our outline. We did. We were successful. Okay. We got through our outline. So thank you, Adrienne, for putting together such an amazing outline. And thank you very much, Emmy, for being here. Is there anything last that you would advise somebody that is possibly thinking about stepping into a boxing gym or boxing? Doesn't have to be a Legends, just boxing in general. Anybody that could possibly be thinking about taking their first fight. Any advice that you would give to somebody?
When you're scared of anything, take your thoughts off yourself. Don't think about you. If you're like, oh, I want to try boxing, but I'm scared, then don't think about you sucking and going in and not knowing anything. Think about, what's this coach have to teach me? What does that heavy bag look like? How does that move? What do these gloves feel like? Right? If you take the focus off yourself, your anxiety will dissipate. Same when you get in the ring. If you don't think about you and you think, what is there to be learned? What is there to observe? What is that person doing? Your anxiety will be much lower. Then you can do a lot more, achieve a lot more.
Yeah. No. Wow. I never thought of it like that. I really never did. So thank you for that. That's actually, I hope there are a lot of people that listen to this episode and listen to especially that advice right there. Every fight I ever had, that's all I ever thought about was the punches that were coming at my face and what I was going to punch them. It wasn't, taking it off of myself. It wasn't taking that fear and any of it off of thought process off of me. I was nervous. Like I was really nervous every fight I had going into it because I think I was doing exactly the opposite of what you just said, is that all I was thinking about is the potential of what could happen to me when I get in the ring. Right. And that I've never thought about that until just now.
For sure,
yeah.
That's why that gratitude worked so well for me, to just think of like, what around me is good. It's not about me.
I love that.
Except when I'm walking out and banging my chest at a monkey. That's about me. That's my moment.
Yeah, that was 100% your moment. That was a great moment. That's why if you look at the camera, I was like 20 feet away from you. You told me you were like, just do whatever you want. Yeah.
This is and I was like, well, okay, it's a monkey song.
Yeah, brass monkey, let's go. And I went, okay, I'm going to take 10 paces back and just let her shine. Just get up to the ring. It was such an amazing night.
Calm down. He told me, he's like, save your energy for the ring. Like, chill out. I'm like, I got plenty to spare.
Yeah, you don't know me, Buster. You don't know me. Don't tell me to calm down. So listeners, thank you guys so much. I just want to take a second. Please leave us a review, leave some comments, let people know about this podcast. I think there are some amazing episodes that we have that you can relate and really get some good experience and insight from a lot of people and their experiences and their journeys through boxing and through life and just how they both relate. So yeah, leave us a review, follow us, click the like button down on the corner of the screen. and wait for the next episode. Emmy, thank you so much for being here. It's been an amazing time. No, we'll see you next time.